Yo, real quick. So I'm still doing this type of shit too. I just put out a podcast earlier today. That's more focused on the movement. This type of video right here, I'm gonna focus more on like media influence, but not in media. Like I did one about what's his name, Anderson Cooper on CNN, and that's what I think we need to delve in more also. But this one right here is on Vlad TV. Now, a lot of people really don't know how Vlad TV get down. They understand there's something wrong with Vlad, but they don't really know what it is. They don't understand what he's doing, so they just call him the police. But Vlad is more than that, because Vlad, he uses, like I was saying with Anderson Cooper, their ways of communication is over most people's heads. So you don't understand the ways of communication, but their ways of communication to you, just like Anderson Cooper, he will be communicating to you, but he will lead you to where he wants you to go anyway. Same with Vlad. All these rappers that be on Vlad, they don't understand. They just be sitting there letting Vlad lead them to where, but Vlad understands. He's up there. His communication techniques. Remember, if you're in podcasting or you're doing these videos, you're in communication. This is communication. So if you don't understand communications, you don't understand what you're doing. And a lot of times people don't understand the power of communications. Now, I'm talking to this about this Gonzo video that says, I threw up when I heard Tupac got killed. Believe conspiracy theories at first. It's part 6 of the Gonzo Vlad interview. We all know Gonzo used to be a part of Tupac's Outlaws. Something happened, whatever. But now Gonzo's got some new internet fame when he fought Bosco on a fight. But he's just on Vlad now to try to milk his fame, I guess. But he still don't understand what's going on. Vlad, in this interview, just straight demolished Gonzo. And I think Gonzo either being too scared to say what's up, or maybe both. Too scared to say what's up and just got punished by higher forms of communication. Now, I'm play this video. I can't show the video because I'll get a content strike probably. You know how Vlad is. He give you them shit. But I'll play it in the background, and I'll keep stopping, and I'll point out each part of his communication techniques. That this video is about the murder of Tupac Shakur, a black American hero, and the murder of Tupac Shakur, which was murdered. He was murdered by the cops or the music industry, which is probably both hand in hand. If you listen to my podcast today, you would understand what I'm talking about. But Vlad wants everyone to forever think that he was murdered by black gang members. And that's how I hear you guys talking about narrative. Always, he want to talk about the narrative. He want to control the narrative. I think y'all just heard me say narrative, and you just now figuring out what that word means, but you don't know what. Vlad controls the narrative of this shit, and a huge narrative as Tupac killings. We shouldn't let Vlad control it, because he is definitely lying, and he's definitely leading us into black on black crime, which totally takes out the police or whoever else was involved in the murder of Tupac. Because like every black person know, Tupac was like assassinated, attempted like over 5 times. They tried to kill Tupac a lot. And I see these people, get a lot of Tupac assassination. People that tried to kill Tupac. I see them boys on y'all's podcast. So y'all so fucking sold out that y'all really can't ask the real questions. But that's what I'm here for. So check this out. I'm going to play it in the background, and I'm going to just react to this shit. And I'll highlight when this nigga's on some fuck shit.
Well, then 1996, Tupac gets killed. How did you feel when you heard that?
I threw up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sad day. Especially in California.
Yeah.
I remember that day.
Yeah.
And everyone thought he was going to make it, really. In the beginning, it was like, oh, Tupac.
See, for you that don't know already, within like 1 minute, 29 seconds of the video, Vlad is leading his interviewee. You know, like lawyers lead the witness, or sometimes cops lead you into admitting you did something that you didn't do. Vlad is doing it. This is high levels of communication. There's not, y'all say Vlad is the police, but which version of police? There's high levels of communication. This is fucking society building right here. Because if you can make people think Tupac, an American black legend hero, got killed by other black people, you diminish all the government agencies that's been trying to kill Tupac also. Because you had to diminish them because they're white and you work for those government agencies. I can tell.
Tupac got shot again.
Right.
Okay. He got shot 9 times.
Right.
He made a song about it.
Right.
He's going to make another song about this.
Right.
And he's going to talk more shit.
Right.
But then as the days are progressing, you keep hearing the news is not good. You know, he lost his lung. He's in a coma. He's this, he's that. And then you finally heard the news that he was taken off life support. Almost reminds me of the DMX story in a way, like a whole week.
So, what he's saying is, if anybody remember when Tupac got shot, Tupac been shot before, and he pulled through. And this time the family was saying, just like in the DMX situation, the family was saying, oh, he's gonna be all right, he's gonna pull through. But the industry started saying, oh no, he's dead. And they wanted to get that narrative out to, so you won't have hope of him surviving. And that's big in the Tupac story because, like I said, Tupac has been shot before. So when the people shot Tupac up in Quad Studios, the first time, you could say, oh, those guys killed Tupac. Like, Keefe D and those guys killed Tupac. But you don't say who put the hit that caused those guys to shoot Tupac. You let that go. The shooters probably were the shooters, but the shooters were not the ones that put the hit out. But if you let Vlad tell it, Keefe D and his homeboys killed the biggest rap legend in black history. And Keefe D and his homeboys did it when the police and the FBI and all these other people couldn't do it since Tupac was born. They've been trying to kill Tupac. So if you let Vlad tell it, there's some black on black crime. But his Tupac story is way bigger than that. So we can't let Vlad tell it. Let's keep going, Gonzo, because you just got punished on this shit.
Whole week passed and everyone's sort of sitting there hoping for the best, but it's not happening. Yeah. Yeah, man, sad. Sad.
Yeah.
And I've interviewed a lot of people around, the murder of Tupac. Everyone from Keefe D. I don't know if you saw that interview.
I did.
Who was in the car when it happened.
I did.
And that's what Vlad does all the time. He always name drops. Oh, I interviewed a lot of people. I did this, I did that. He name drops. So what you're doing, he's bolstering his own credibility. He's stamping himself. He does that in almost every one of his videos. So now you can think he has more credibility than just being a white Russian Jew that's interviewing black people about police activities.
Well, I'm just going to read this passage. The shit was on. Tupac made an erratic move and began to reach down beneath his seat.
Right now he's reading the Keefe D passage of his interview. He's bigging himself up with Keefe D, but he's continuing the narrative that just some black gang members killed Tupac, which again hides who really killed Tupac.
It was the first and only time in my life that I could relate to the police command. Keep your hands where I could see them. Instead, Pac pulled out a strap, and that's when the fireworks started. One of my guys from the backseat grabbed the Glock and started busting back. The first shot, skin shook in the head, and I thought that motherfucker was dead. I had heard some stories, supposedly that Tupac that Suge used Tupac as a shield when the bullets started flying, but that's some bullshit. Suge was already wounded, and he was the one that got touched. As the rounds continued flying, I ducked down so I wouldn't get hit.
Basically, yeah.
To Edie, that was the car right behind him,
Right.
to Chris Carroll, the first responder, to everyone else. And essentially, the story is the story. I mean, people like to say that it was a government conspiracy. People like to say that Suge set him up.
I said everything.
See what he did right here. Now, after Vlad gets out of that Keefe D memory interview or whatever he did, now he's trying to say, oh, I talked to the first responder. I talked to the, he's bolstering his claim to he knows more than what you know because he interviewed more people on the scene than what you did. But he's not a part of our culture, so there's no way he could know more and speak and publicly get out more of what happened to Tupac, a Black American hero. And now he's going to change the story on what happened to Tupac. He's whitewashing as he go. And Gonzo don't understand this level of fucking communication. So he was just his little whipping boy at the moment.
All that shit ran through my mind, and I believed it all at one time.
Yeah.
Like, no, the government had to do this. No, fuck that. Suge did it. I know it. Everything was possible at one time, but it's exactly what you said.
Yeah, in 2000.
And look what Gonzo say. Gonzo was around the situation, so he say, "Oh, I believe that at one time, the government killed Tupac. I believe that at one time, but now it's like, oh, it's exactly what you said." Now Gonzo ain't on top. He not in the game no more. So now it's agree with the white dude so I can get my pass back, so I can get my 15 minutes of fame back. He said, now it's exactly what you said. Bitch, what did Vlad say? He didn't say it was nothing. He didn't say it was nothing. Dude copping out already. Now, I used to believe that, but now it's exactly what you said. I got my young kid clothes on and my ice. I need my 15 minutes of fame back. So I gotta go let Vlad shit on my nigga's story. And I just gotta take it because I need my fame. I need my views on Vlad. That's what these niggas do. They go on Vlad for clout and they get punished communication-wise. And our history gets diminished because a white boy knew what he was doing, punished our shit. And the black boys that didn't know what they was doing allow our shit to get punished.
2021. I mean, really, if you watch the Keefe D interview, what he says is consistent with every other interview that I've done. People that don't know him, don't like him, you know what I'm saying, are still telling the exact same story.
All right, but Vlad, who are you trying to convince that you know the story? Who are you fighting with? And like, when rappers sneak diss each other, they're trying to convince, they heard somebody say, oh, Vlad, you're full of shit. So now all he does is bring people on to convince his stories, to bolster his stories, right? That's all he does. When people was like, oh, we're going to cancel Vlad, all he did is bring on bigger black guests. He showed you can't cancel me because you're black artists and you're black entertainers and celebrities. They want clout more than they want to stand up for something. And I'm going to exploit that. That's what Vlad is doing. So who is he saying? Oh, all these people, they bolstered my story. Bitch, who are you trying to fucking convince? You're trying to convince us. You're trying to convince Black America because Black America watches this. You're trying to convince Black America who don't know any better of some bullshit. I know it's some bullshit and I know how to fucking control you, bitch, because your communication shit ain't that deep. Let's continue.
From other sides.
Right.
Essentially, someone in that car killed Tupac because of the fight at the MGM.
Essentially, someone in that car killed Tupac because of the fight in the MGM. Case closed. Vlad solved it. Oh my God. A white guy, VLADIMIrtv, DJ Vlad. He just solved the biggest unsolved mystery in America and black history, black hip hop history. Vlad just solved it. All right, guys. Case closed. Case closed, guys. We heard Vlad say what it was. It is what it is. That's the life of Tupac. So says Vlad. And so says you other niggas that let Vlad tell y'all's history.
Now, who actually pulled the trigger? Was it Orlando? Was it someone else? We'll probably never know that.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't even really think it fucking matters, man.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
And Gonzo. At this point, I don't even think it fucking matters. Your history don't matter. That's what he's saying. I don't think it matters who killed Tupac. How don't it matter? Because the same people that killed Tupac killed King Von. The same people that killed Tupac killed DMX. The same people that killed Tupac killed Prodigy. The reason y'all don't know this because niggas like this say that shit don't even matter. Because he's too scared to say what I just said to you.
I don't even really think that shit even matters. It matters that happened in history, and we gotta be, know that we're living this shit. But 40 years from now, that event is something that it changed the course of history, definitely.
Oh yeah.
So now he's trying to jump back in and show how powerful the story of Tupac was by saying, "Oh, it don't even matter, but it changed the course of history." How does something that don't even matter also change the course of history? This is him now figuring out that, damn, I just let this white boy shit on my nigga. And now I have to show how powerful Tupac really was. But this is a sparring of communication. The battle is not over. Vlad will also come back and shit on his nigga one more time. Or 2 or 3 more times.
Still considered, I would say most hip-hop fans will say he's the greatest rapper of all time. Now, there's going to be a debate, but I think if you look at most hip-hop fans of a certain age,
just wait.
You'll probably hear Tupac, especially internationally. If you look at the whole world.
Right.
I think he made the biggest impact as a rapper.
Vlad, you know that there's cats that may come with a doper bar here or there, but when you ask cats, like, who do they resonate more with? Who do whose music moves you the most? They gotta say Pac.
Right.
Now, there's dope songs. Jay-Z is a hell of a lyricist, but and he's a hell of a businessman, and anybody else who would come up in the conversation. But I feel like if you ask Jay-Z who is his favorite rapper, of course he might say Big because that's his dude, but in his heart, he knows Tupac.
Right. Was there any story, from the times you guys hung out, went on tour, in the studio, whatever, that really stands out in terms of a Tupac story?
Also, what Vlad is doing, we should know now, black people, with Kwame Brown, how important Kwame's content is, how important your content is. So he asked all these people, hey, is there any important story you know from Tupac that you haven't told anybody? And a lot of people ask that when they're interviewing, but as black people, that is our content. That is our data. You gave that to Vlad now in Vlad's interview. That is his content. That is his data. You should know right now, if you're on the internet watching this, how powerful content and data is. If you do not know, you're probably losing money on your own self, on your own social media, because you don't maximize the power of your content. That's what Vlad is doing right here. Black people understand what the fuck going on. This man is not only raping you, changing the narrative, he's actually taking your fucking money and your history and bottling it up for himself and making millions off of it when you could be making millions off of it. That's what I'm trying to tell
you. Mother's Day brunch. Mother's Day, we wasn't on tour, but it was a Mother's Day that Pac invited my whole family to, I think it was a hotel in Beverly Hills. I know it was in Beverly Hills, but long story short, he just laid it all out for my aunties. My grandmother was still alive. So it meant a lot. And, that day has been played over and over and over and over and over. I didn't really know that was going to be a part of history. I just knew, like, damn, this dude is doing some shit that's thoughtful. No weed involved, no drinking involved. Like, let's go take our moms to brunch. What the fuck? And he paid for it all, him and Suge. So that's what stood out to me the most.
Yeah, Pac, he has two sides. Obviously, he had the misogynistic side, but I think he loved women more than almost anybody.
Yeah.
Down to his mom.
you. Listen to that shit. Homeboy just told a great story about Tupac. What did Vlad do? The first thing he said about Tupac was, oh, there's his misogynistic side, right? Now, then he's going to go tell a good story. But he already did the jab. He already called Tupac a misogynist. After all the bullshit he'd already did already. But then he says some good shit. So you're like, oh, yeah, Vlad, you love Tupac too. But no, he been jabbing Pac and Black history the whole fucking video. You just didn't understand. Listen.
His sister, the women in his life.
I ain't never heard Pac disrespect a woman in her face.
Yeah.
Call her no bitch or belittle no woman. Like, I can't.
I'm glad Gonzo said that. He had to stick up for Pac. I think he realizing that Vlad is dragging Pac right now.
I think back in one time that he wasn't overly generous or a gentleman.
Well, in fact, I'd heard a story. I don't remember who it was, but early on, when Pac was kind of tried his hand at selling crack, I guess a pregnant girl approached him to buy some, and after that he said, "Nah, this ain't for me. I can't do that."
That's the end of the interview, right? Now he tried to say this was he at that very last party talk about Pac selling crack. He tried to make it like a good story of Pac selling crack and he can't sell crack to a pregnant woman. And you, as a listener, think that's a good story. But just by him saying Pac selling crack is diminishing Pac even more. There's no white artist that retires in history and niggas talk about their drug use. There's no white artist that retires in history or dies and then we hear a black people podcast calling them crack dealers. Or none of that shit. None of that shit. You have to understand communication. That's why you know there's something wrong with Vlad. You just don't know what it is. It's high levels of communication to not only brainwash you, but to control the narrative of what he wants you to think really happened in Black history. Vlad does not control African American history. Sorry. And for you rappers that go on there and don't know how to hold up your history or hold up your integrity in front of this man, stop going on there. Because you make a lot of people look bad. Because Vlad is only trying to out here to make us look bad. And that's how he does it. You bitch!